Ministry is not my priority. Jesus is my priority. Many people are committing adultery with the bride of Christ. You have your own bride. Go and focus on your bride. Leave the bride of Christ.
Wow.
And that's the way I see it. So
We are joined today by a medical doctor, founder, and lead pastor of Petra Christian Center, a global ministry reaching thousands across Africa and beyond. He would be talking about vision, spiritual intelligence, and divine direction.
life is cyclical. Seasons are unforgiving. Every season you miss, candidly speaking, literally never comes back. But there's something called the curse of the gifted.
This is your work ethic. Is it by grace? Where do you get this work ethic from, sir?
A gifted person thinks I can get anything done at any time. On the long run, systems and structures, they always do better than giftings.
They also say that Gen Z lack honor. What do you think about it?
I beg to disagree a bit. I understand when people say the Gen Zs are dishonorable. I don't think so. Sincerely speaking. And I know that this might be unpopular, but I don't think so. I think they're untrained.
Hello there, Tolu Afilaka here. Yes, it's a new show and it's brought to you by Cafe One Studios. Cafe One Studios is out to create some of the biggest, best content across Africa and to the world. And I happen to be one of the pioneers of one of their first shows and podcasts. On our podcast, we'll be having some amazing guests that are here to stimulate and steer your mind into thinking for possibilities. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to subscribe, like, leave a comment to help the algorithm share this video to a wider audience. Let's get into the conversation.
Hello, people. Welcome to another amazing episode. And of course, you're wondering why I'm smiling. It's because I'm beyond excited to have my guest today. It's long overdue. I've been wanting this episode for so long, and I can bet it's going to be one of the best episodes that I have released yet. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, he needs no formal introduction. He is the senior pastor of Petra Christian Center. Petra Christian Center, tongue twisted. And it's obvious because it feels like I'm a bit anxious, but I'm also very excited. I'm filled with ecstasy because this man is one of the most charismatic faith teachers that I know. I've learned so much from him, and this happened to be when I got a clip from a friend. He sent me a clip and he was talking about, but we see Jesus. When the children of Israel were bit by a snake and they looked up to the serpent and they received their healing. And that message spoke deeply to me. And ever since then, I've been following him. And destiny happened. We crossed paths. And today he's in the studio with me. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have Pastor Ayo Ajani.
Thank you, Tolu.
How are you, sir?
I'm honored to be here.
Great to have you here with me, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
like
sir.
I said earlier, I'm Tolu of Africa, Tolu Global. Well done. Great job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That's high praise. Pastor Ayola. Yes. Allow me, sir, to take it back to the beginning. The young Ayola. I was reading a bit about you and I realized that you got into ministry a bit early. But I saw a detail. It said you happened to be born in a Muslim background.
Oh, yeah.
So how were you not able to reconnect and find your way into ministry?
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, I think that every part of your journey has something to do with God's plans for your life.
Yeah.
Like you said, I was born into a Muslim home. And that's one thing many people find interesting. Pastor Ayo, Muslim home. In fact, my Muslim name is Monzo. And sometimes I think I probably should just use it because it's cute. My brother's was Maruf, so use it. But my dad was a Muslim. My mom was a nominal Christian, denominational Christian and all that. So literally we're born into a Muslim background. And I always wanted to be the youngest Alhaji. Candidly, that was my plan.
Young Alhaji.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to be the youngest. I mean, I had serious plans and all the rest.
Yeah.
But as God will have it, my brother got saved. That was very infuriating and annoying for me. Like, okay, that's your business.
Your brother got saved first.
He was the first to get saved.
Okay.
He went to boarding house and then he encountered Jesus. And then my dad had a series of dreams, like 3 different dreams where the Lord appeared to him.
Okay.
And because again, my dad, I'm not sure there was anyone who could preach to him, So he had those dreams and then he got saved. He went to meet his cousin who was already saved. Cut long story short, he got saved. and I was the only person left.
Amongst everyone.
Amongst everyone that was not saved, And that's because I had strong convictions, even though I was very young.
As a Muslim.
Oh, yeah. For whatever I was doing, I had strong convictions. Wow. I mean, so that was just one aspect of what I was doing, being a Muslim, Cut long story short, a new church started in our neighborhood.
Yes.
My dad dragged me there. I always tell the story. First day, the evangelist, he's late now. I remember him, made an altar call. People came out. Second day, people came out. Third day, I think the supply of sinners was exhausted. So nobody came out again.
Yeah.
And I remember, if I mention his name, people will probably know me. He's a popular gospel artist. We're in church together, kids. And I remember saying to him, I don't know if I can say this in pidgin the way I said it. That day I said to him, I said, this man go shemo, which means, so I said, let's go out now. So that's how I went out. And the rest is history. I'm born again today.
So you just went out to help?
Yeah, I was just catching cruise. I was just having fun.
And then God arrested you right there.
I think the power of the gospel is that if you make a confession of it, even if you don't mean it, it will catch you.
So it felt like a seed that was planted into your heart.
It was a seed. In fact, my mother said to me when she laughed. She said, if the evangelist knows, he should not rejoice that this one is saved. But that really was where my journey started from. And like you say, the rest is history.
Okay, but your mom, you didn't speak about your mom. Was your mom also a Muslim?
No, she was a believer, a nominal Christian.
Oh, wow.
But she wasn't she was the kind of, anything goes and all the rest.
I guess that's why she could even marry your dad.
Absolutely. It was anything goes.
Yeah,
but we got saved, and then my dad got serious, my brother got serious. And so she was forced to now get serious with her salvation. Yeah.
Wow. That's very, But at some point, there's a story that you share most times in your teachings. You spoke about a particular time when I think maybe you took something, maybe you stole something, or you took something from somewhere.
Where did you hear that from?
I've been listening to you.
I was coming here and I said, I hope Tolu's not going to ask me all those funny questions, but you've done it.
I have been listening to you for a while.
Apparently you have, because I don't tell those stories anymore.
A lot of my prayer walks, I always plugged into your messages. So,
okay.
Yes, so you said you stole something and then they reported you to your man of God.
Again, you know how it is, little kid. This was in the 90s. Early 90s, and you wanted to feel among. In those days, if you had a headphone on, sag your trousers, and then you have this Walkman. I don't know if you know what they call Walkman.
Of course I do.
Oh,
you do?
Oh, you saw it in pictures. I mean, you have the Walkman, and then so you felt like you're a big boy. So I really wanted something like that, and my dad was not having it. And so, interestingly, my dad never really believed in banks. So he never had his money in banks. It was in his wardrobe and all that. So one of those days, usually dad will come back home 4:30, 5 p.m. I came back from school early, intentionally stopped lessons because I had something I wanted to do. And so I picked up a 500 naira note. I can't forget. And I looked everywhere and I couldn't find a Walkman. I think that was just God. Every store in Ipaja did not have a Walkman. Finally, I got to, there's a place called Abeson Estate. I got there and I saw this big shopping mall. So I entered and eventually I couldn't find a Walkman, but there's this thing where you press it and it makes some sounds. And I'm like, today this thing I've decided to do, I must do it. So I bought it. And as I was coming out at the gate, my dad came down from the car with his friend. I don't want to mention his friend's name. Came down from the car. It was a Volvo. It was a dark green Volvo. I can't forget. And I saw my dad's face and I made up my mind that, okay, we're going to die. I'm not going, I was ready for whatever it was going to. So they drove me straight to church. Apparently my father had spoken to my pastor. They had called the council of elders. And so there were about 6, 7 of them seated, and here was this little boy. And I was looking at all of them. I'm like, okay, all right. My mind is made up. Everybody said all the things they would say. And I would never forget what my pastor said. He looked at everybody and he says, is everybody done? And he laughed. He had this, and I was wondering, why is pastor laughing? And then he looked at me and says, all of you can go. Ayo will never do that again. And I thought to myself that, I think you don't know me. I will do it again. But I think that was the most powerful, maybe I wouldn't say most powerful, but the first time I felt somebody loved and believed in me. And so I made up my mind. I said I wasn't going to fail this man. And for me, that was the change. I decided if he believes in me this much, I would never forget. He told everybody to leave. My father, as he was leaving, was saying, put him on 3 days fast. He needs deliverance and all that. And then he gives me a kind of Hagin book.
Wow.
And he says, go into church, go and read it. And that's when I started reading Brother Hagin, because he was the one who introduced me to Brother Hagin.
At what age was this?
I must have been about 11.
Wow.
Yeah, 10, somewhat 11. Very young.
Wow.
And then he gave me the book to read. And I remember I began to read it. I didn't understand many of the things. But I think the love and the belief in me was my motivation to do it. And that's why I tell people that the most powerful force on earth is love. If the law were that powerful, we would not have prisoners.
Yes, yes.
We won't have people go to prison. If the law was that a deterrent, the most powerful force on earth that brings change is the force of love.
Love.
And that's the only thing that we have, that's what we have as believers, as the Church of Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's. But was that your first encounter with anything of sort of love? Because when you give your life to Christ, of course, when you went to help the man of God, was that like your first encounter with anything related to the Bible?
You mean when I got saved?
Yes, when you got saved.
Obviously, there was Bible around me. That's the truth. Because my mother was a believer, even though she was nominal. There was Bible here and there. My father had gotten saved, so there was a bit of introduction of Christianity already, but I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested one bit. But that was, I think, where the seed was sown.
Yes.
But I think where I began to take things serious was this experience I had with my pastor. And he began to mentor me even at that little age.
Yeah. So if I'm correct, is Pastor Israel?
Yeah, Pastor Israel Ojapa.
Okay.
I'm sure you know. You have an idea.
Yeah, so who was he to you, and what were the cardinal roles he played in shaping you into who you are today? Because I've seen you mention quite a number of times.
Oh yeah, I would always say that he was, and it's difficult using the word was. He played the role of a father, literally. And I think beyond just preaching on the pulpit, it was the interest he had in me, literally every single step of the way. So much so when my mom passed on, my father couldn't tell me. He called my pastor to tell me, because he knew that he was the only one who could have that kind of conversation with me. So I had this very close father-son relationship with him. And there was absolutely no area of my life that he wasn't involved. I mean, the choice of who to marry, literally, he was the one who signed it off.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. That's how the kind of relationship I had with him. Yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting. But we'll come back to your background. But I want us to go into one of the most important things I want to really know is your work ethic. Because because the very first time I met you was at Covenant University. For some reason, my dad sent me. I was at the guest house. I was trying to do my clearance for school. My dad sent me to go and use the POS, and then I was coming back and I saw you walking into the guest house. I said, I know this walking step. But what really struck me was the fact that a day before, I had watched you in Abuja online, 21, you're doing your 21 days prayer, and then I'm like, do they pre-record the 21 days? How is this man here at this time in the morning, And then I was like, I went to walk up to you, I spoke to you, and then you said after your meeting in the evening, you're flying back again. Yeah. So I just want to know, is this your work ethic? Is it by grace or it is by work? I don't even know how to put it, but where did you get this work ethic from, sir?
Where did I get it from? Influences. My pastor, and then the influence of people like Bishop Edopo as well, reading and watching them from a distance. I don't think anybody is born with work ethics. I think first and foremost is first is the power of vision. And then number 2 is the understanding of seasons. And I think that I understood quite early in my life, the fact that you will never always be this young, and that there are different seasons in a man's life, and those seasons are for different things. I would always say to people around me that there's a season where you're building, and there's a season where you're consolidating. It will be, now I understand the place of the mercy and the grace of God, but it will be difficult to build when you should be consolidating. And for me, I realized that I'm in that season of building. And so I don't have this, I'm not doing 2 things. I'm just doing one thing. And all I'm doing is building. And so whatever it takes, however far I have to go, Once I'm able to define that this is what must be done, whatever I need to do to get it done, I'm going for it. The truth be told, I understand the place of rest. Again, I mean, the Lord said to me, he worked for 6 days and he rested on the seventh.
Yes.
But he didn't rest because he was tired. So rest is not just because you're tired. Rest is a demand for the creative process. All right. Creativity begins to wane once weariness sets in.
Yes, sir.
And so I understand the place of rest. However, I know full well that nothing gets done except somebody does it. And that's always been my mantra, that if you don't get on the job and get on the grind and get it done, nothing gets done except somebody does it. I mean, people till now, somebody yesterday still told me, I saw you at so-and-so place the day before. You're here again today, blah, blah, blah. You're running 3 meetings, 4 meetings sometimes in a day and all the rest. And I'm asking, when am I supposed to do that? Is it when I'm 60? When am I supposed to do that? This is when I have the energy. This is when I have the strength. Even if God renews seasons, and let's say you're 60 years of age, I hope you know if you put a 60-year-old man in a nursery school, even the table and the chair is telling the man that you've gone past this age.
Yes.
And that's what happens with life.
Yes.
There's a season to build. And for me, it's the power of vision and the understanding of seasons that drives me. I know what must be done. I know where I'm going to. I know that the season won't last forever. Life is cyclical. Seasons are unforgiving. All right. So the season, and that's one of the things the Lord taught me. The seasons are unforgiving. Another season can come that may be pregnant with opportunities. But every season you miss, candidly speaking, literally never comes back. And so you have to take full advantage of that season, or else it's shoulda, woulda, coulda. That then becomes the story. So for me, that's what drives me. That's really what drives me.
Wow. Because sometimes I wonder, I see you fly to Abuja, you go to London after 3 days. I was thinking maybe you even spend like a holiday day, you chill there. 3 days, you're back and you're on pulpit.
Yeah.
You did Powerhouse of Old. On Sunday again, you're on stage preaching. But there's also the grace factor, God powering you.
Also, I believe that you have grace for your assignment. I call it grace for your race.
Okay.
You have grace for your assignment. But the fact, like Paul said, he said, I am what I am by the grace of God. But I labored more abundantly than they all. I think one of the proofs of grace is labor. Because it empowers you to do what is required per time and per season. So yes, there's grace. But I think there's a bit of labor as well.
Labor.
Yeah.
But then how are you able to then put in like structures into your schedule? Because you also have a family.
Oh, yeah.
You have your wife, you have your kids.
Yeah.
How do you create time for each and everyone with this busy schedule? And there's a lot of demands from members. Pastor, Tolu, what's it called for my podcast? So how do you create time for all of us?
Okay. So I think it has to do with priorities. I would always say to people that I'm first a believer.
Yes.
Secondarily, a husband. Thirdly, a father. And fourthly, a pastor.
So those come first.
Oh yeah, they come first. If your podcast was clashing with my son's interhouse, but I won't come.
Of course.
Oh yeah, I won't come. And that for me is my policy.
In fact, I'll come there.
That's my policy. Because for me, those moments can't be reclaimed.
Yes.
Just that point where my daughter sees me cheering her on the stands, I can't buy that back. But I can come for your podcast some other time.
Yeah, powerful.
You're upset, but I'll beg you.
No,
and,
that's
and then we'll be fine. Yes. So for me, that's the priority. First is my relationship with God. Secondly is my relationship with my wife. Yes. Third is being a father to the children. And fourth is ministry. Ministry is not my priority. Jesus is my priority. And for me, that changes everything. There's something I always say to people, that it's not ministry I love, it's Jesus I love.
Okay.
All right? And out of that relationship with him, he's given me my priorities. My wife, we joke about it, but I would always say to my pastors, I say many people are committing adultery with the bride of Christ. You have your own bride. Go and focus on your bride. Leave the bride of Christ.
Wow.
And that's the way I see it. So for me, the priority is my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my children, and then the work of ministry.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people actually just leave the family, because when I was growing up, there's this popular notion that men of God, their kids are wayward and all of that. But
the truth is, I agree with you, but I think every generation has the benefit to look at what the previous generation didn't do well and build better on it. I think it's just, I won't claim that we would have done better in their shoes. It's just that we have the privilege now to say, okay, maybe this could have been done better. And now we're making those adjustments. Doesn't mean we're better ministers. It just means that we have the benefit of hindsight to make the adjustments necessary. I don't think that going forward would have much of that, because I see a lot of pastors making those adjustments,
kids,
putting that effort for the children.
Wow. That's so powerful, sir. All right. I was listening to your sermon this morning, even before you texted.
This morning?
Yes.
Okay.
I told you, is this sermon, I always listen to it, I go back to it as often as possible. It's how small things become great.
2022.
Yes. I think you should listen to that. You should preach that sermon.
I should preach it again,
yes.
right?
Yeah, how small things become great. You spoke
Okay.
about the ants. You talk about the power of collaboration. You spoke about
Being understated.
Yeah. Yes. And I found that very powerful. You spoke about diligence. Yes.
Yeah.
And I was reading a research last week. They said the Gen Zs happen to be the laziest generation. Happen to be the laziest.
I'm not going to be the one to say it. You're saying it yourself.
I'm saying, I'm sure everyone saw it. And a lot of Gen Zs some people were saying, "Oh, leave us like that." But I want to say, before you speak about the Gen Zs, what are ways people can be more effective in a very distracted world today? Okay. Because there are a lot of distractions, phones, many things that keep us away from focusing on the tasks that is important and necessary. So what do you think are the ways that we can better streamline our focus?
So I think that people need to narrow down their life into what really matters. If you're able to define what matters, then you decide what comes into your world, what comes into your life. For me, I know what matters. And so because of what matters, it decides a lot of things for me. We're talking about media just now, and I realized that I don't do well with media. And so I get a team to help me handle it. More often than not, even the apps are not on my phone because I do not want to be there. I understand that for me as a minister, my heart really matters. And I want a pure stream of ministry, not with some bitterness, somebody comments and then you're not happy. Nah, I don't need all of that in my life. So I get people to do that for me. Yes. And they seem to be able to cope with it because I ask them every night, "You guys okay? Are you good?" And all that. So for me, it's being able to narrow down to what really matters in your life.
Yes.
And then on the basis of what matters, you build up your disciplines, you build up your relationships, you build up the things you allow into your life on the basis of that. So I'm very guarded on what I do on my phone. I'm very guarded on how I access the internet, what I'm doing there. And it's intentional because I know what matters. And as long as you keep the focus, I think the biggest challenge is there's a lot of, I think the Gen Zs, and I said I wasn't going to go into this way. Now you set me trapped.
You love us. You
always
encourage us.
I think you're the most gifted generation.
Yes, I agree.
But there's something called the cost of the gifted. And I need to speak about it, the cost of the gifted. And that's why in economics, a study was done and they called it the resource cost, the resource paradox. And the idea was if the more resource natural resources a nation has, the more likely it is to be poor. They found out that the nations that have the most natural resources were the poorest nations. And the reason for that was this. Obviously, there are exceptions here and there. But the reason for that was this, is that the more gifts and resources a person has, the less dependence they have on diligence, work ethics, and structure. Diligence, work ethics, structure, and systems. Because a gifted person thinks, I can get anything done at any time, in any way.
Yes.
But I hope you know that if you're not so gifted, let's imagine you want to do this podcast and you don't think you're a good orator. You're not so good with speaking. I hope you know you're going to spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos on how to speak.
Yes.
You're going to have speaking moments where you probably coaches.
Yes.
You probably will stand before the mirror, practice a lot of things.
Yes.
Now, but you realize somebody who feels I'm very gifted, he doesn't build structure. He doesn't build systems. He relies on his giftings because he knows I can get it done. The problem is this. On the long run, systems and structures, they always do better than giftings. And I think that's the thing with the Gen Zs. You are one of the most gifted generation. If you speak to the average Gen Z, they're brilliant. When I say brilliant, very brilliant people. They see things in the way that the millennials, you're wondering, how come I didn't see it this way? The challenge, however, is that they put a lot of reliance, or you put a lot of reliance, a lot of reliance on that gifting. All right? With a bit more structure,
Yes.
with a bit more systems, with a bit more intentionality with life, I think that we can have the greatest generation ever in terms of accomplishments and results. I personally believe that the Gen Zs can do times 10 of what the millennials have done, 8 times 100 of what they have done. Just a bit more structure, just a bit more work ethics, just a bit more organization. Because I see somebody who goes to work and says, I'm tired from 2 hours of work. My head space is filled. And I have no issues with that. But the point is that life demands so much. There's a grit, there's a roughness that life demands. And I don't think that I see that being brought to the table. All right. So it's great to be so brilliant, to be so resourceful and all the rest. But can we put it into some structure, some work ethics, some, and all of the rest? I found out that even if you're so good, anybody who can consistently do something with the right system around it will outwit the very, very gifted person on the long run.
Yes.
So I think that's the challenge for me with the younger generation. Yeah.
Okay. I know you don't want to talk about Jay-Z anymore.
No, I don't want to.
Well, because I'm advocating for my people. So they also say that Jay-Z lack honor. Okay. Because of maybe social media, they are quick to call people out, of which I try to distance myself from such discussions because it's alarming. I've seen some of my Gen Z colleagues, call out senior men of God in the country, which I know is not right. What do you think about it? What do you think about honor? Do you think it's lacking in our generation? How do you think we can better? Because our generation was trained by your generation. So are you saying that your generation is doing a great job in teaching us in honor?
Okay.
Yes.
So I beg to disagree a bit. I understand when people say the Gen Zs are dishonorable. I don't think so, sincerely speaking. And I know that this might be unpopular, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they are untrained. Oh yeah, there's a difference. And I'll explain what I mean.
Now it's more painful.
Is it more painful? Oh, I thought I was being nice. All right, so no, I don't mean it in a bad way. And I'll tell you why I'm saying they're on. I'll tell you something.
They're all laughing.
I'll tell you something. Either side of imbalance is not good. Sometimes we think that there's small evil and there's big evil.
Yes.
Either side. My generation erred on the side of honor. We're honorable people, but I can tell you for free that it cost my generation so much. I can tell you for free that my generation, it cost us because we didn't fully understand what honor is. Okay. My generation honored so much that we despised ourselves. We honored so much that we didn't put value on what we carry. That is what the fathers, what the people ahead of us carry. And that's why you'd observe that I feel like your generation is a reaction to what they saw with my generation.
Yes, true.
They saw the fact that, hey, these guys are literally putting themselves under. And it's all about those that have gone ahead and all the rest. So you have a generation coming back to say, listen, me, I believe in myself. I'm not doing anything with all of you guys and all the rest. It's a reaction, literally speaking. And so I do not even think that my generation got it completely right. So it's not a case of, we got it better, the Gen Zs are. I don't think so. I feel like there's a midline. And the midline is where everybody needs to come to. Number one is the fact that irrespective of what we have and who we are, there must be that deference for those who came before us, who went ahead of us. It's impossible for us to be able to do the things we're doing today, save that some people laid the foundation.
Yes.
Every generation builds on the previous one.
Yes, sir.
It's impossible. And so I think for me, that's the basis of honor at the most foundational level. All right, that every generation, in fact, the way the Lord put it to me. Now, I don't believe in evolution and all this, but I mean, in that sense. But if you were to use science, you have Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo this, then you get to Homo sapiens. And you can't have Homo sapiens save that you have Homo erectus. Imagine Homo sapiens looking at Homo habilis, bent over, looking like whatever it is, and saying, you guys don't get it and all this. But That's the process that brought you to where you are.
Yes, sir.
So the recognition that somebody did something, somebody built something, they may not have done it the best way possible, but acknowledging that and respecting that, for me, that's number one. Yes. However, the other bit is not getting to the point where, because of honor, you start despising what you now carry, which is where we erred. And I think where the Gen Zs err is the fact that they seem to think that we just showed up. I mean, we're just good by ourselves, and all the rest. For me, it's the understanding the fact that, hey, there were guys who were here. People laid the foundation.